like to welcome up Pastor Greg Davis. Come on, can we make some noise? He was a pastor at Calvary Chapel, am I correct? He's a pastor everywhere. He's an incredible businessman, entrepreneur, but I'm sure he's going to share more. But can we all honor and welcome Pastor Greg?
So, this is my wife, Tammy. I know what you're thinking. How did I marry her? My best friend asked me that. Like, how did you get her? Like, she's so out of your league. I'm like, It's because I'm rich. No, I'm not. I'm not rich. Trust me, I'm not rich. I don't even know if I'm charming. I don't know how I did it, but oh well. So background, I have been in the ministry for, I'm 59, started when I was 20. I don't know what the math is, but I started my career at Assemblies of God Church, and I was total Pentecostal church. Holy roller, speaking in tongues, just crazy wacko stuff, right? So my first job in the ministry was I was a catcher. Do you know what a catcher is? So when you get slain in the spirit, you need to have a catcher. And I always wondered, if you're being slain in the spirit, then you should just be able to land softly. Why do you need a catcher? But I was a catcher until that fateful Sunday night when we had 90 people in our choir at this church, full orchestra, 90 people in the choir. And the larger woman decided she was going to come down and get prayed for, right? And so she started shaking, and it was me and my buddy, and I'm like, and he looked at me and he's like, I'll get this one, you get that one. And she went down, and she went down right on me. And I mean, I went down hard. And I went to my pastor and I said, is there any other ministry that I could possibly do? I don't want to be a catcher anymore. And he says, well, are you musical? I said, I play guitar. I was in a heavy metal band, like in high school, like Van Halen, Metallica. I was into all that stuff. May or may not listen to it now, sometimes. But I was just like into it. And he's like, and they threw me up, and I started my ministry there. So I went through that, from Assemblies of God to Calvary Chapel, believe it or not. And I went to Calvary Chapel for a while, went to Bible college, then I taught Bible college there for a couple of years, and then I started my own church. And I started my own church for about maybe 15 years, and we were independent, but I was ordaining women, and every time I ordained a woman to be a pastor in my church, half my church left because they didn't believe in it. And I'm like, I got to find a denomination that I can connect with, right? So at the time, I was going through difficult personal issues with my marriage, not with Tam, but it was very difficult. And I had cancer. I had stage 4 lymphoma. I was ready to be dead. If you come over to my house, I'll show you pictures, and I'm like bald, and she's in our wedding picture. She's beautiful, and I'm dying. It was terrible. And so I during that time is when I went to Kimberly. I just cold called. And I'm like, I think I got Vanessa. And I'm like, yeah, I want to be a Foursquare church. And I'm like, why? And I said, because I believe that women should be ordained. I have 4 daughters. I have a 35-year-old, a 32-year-old, how old Samantha? 28, and then a 22-year-old, a 22-year-old son, and a son that's in heaven. He died when he was 18 years old. He was in the U.S. Army. He died in a car accident. And we actually had his funeral here in the place where we worship, which is wonderful for me. Every time I walk up there, I see this casket, like right in front of where Pastor Jerry is. It took me a while to get over that, but praise God. Are you over it? I'm over it. Not over it. Sorry. Very difficult. You never want to lose a kid, right? That's the worst thing in my life. Absolutely worst thing. So anyways, did that, and when I went to Kimberly, I was right in the middle of chemotherapy and radiation. I was dying. And I took my daughter Gracie with me. You might see her around here. And I said, this is what I want to do. She's like, I'm going to come to your church on Sunday. At the time, I think she was a supervisor, like a district supervisor. I'm like, okay. So she came, and at the time, I was leading worship and preaching at my church. So I just did a regular service. And at the end of the service, I'm like, yeah, she's going to like deny this, right? And so I went up to her after, and I said, well, what do you think? Are we offended? She goes, you are not anything like us. And I'm like, oh, man. And she goes, that's exactly what I'm looking for. I said, you're kidding. And she said, no. I grew up in a church just like the one that you pastor. And let's do it. And so we became a Foursquare. And I did that for another 12 years. And then my church, I merged with another church because everybody in my church was basically older than me. And if they weren't dying and going to heaven, they were retiring and moving. And so I'm like, all right. So we joined another Foursquare. That didn't really work out all that well. And then I came here. And I came here and met with Jerry. And I said, what do you want me to do? And he said, well, he gave me the typical pastor answer. What's your passion? I looked at him. I said, Pastor, I am here to serve. You put me in a ministry that is failing or suffering or hurting. And I'll shore it up. It's what I do. And he said, okay. He goes, I want you to do this. I want you to do that. And I did. In between that, I got to be on the worship team, and they tolerate me. But I want to say something about your leader. I probably work the most with Destiny in the ministry, but with Jared, I work a lot with just on projects and stuff like that. I am incredibly impressed by him. I have to tell you, he is quite a servant, quite a gentleman, quite a husband, quite a leader, and I don't normally see that. I view everybody through my children, and my children, I'm still trying to get them engaged in life. I have some stories to tell you about that, but I don't want to sell anybody out, really. This is taped, right? We may have to dub it, I want to talk to you tonight about God and your money. And I'm going to talk to you from experience. And it's not like when I was your age that I figured it out. I didn't. The only thing I figured out at your age was and this is what my dad taught me, if there are a certain amount of hours in a week, you ought to be working. And so when I graduated high school, I woke up, I graduated, I remember that. I woke up at the river, the Colorado River, and somebody had thrown me on an island like a sand barge, and I remember my leg was all wet. I'm like, what is going on? And I woke up and I'm like, how did I get here? Like, I didn't get saved until after that. But up until that point, I was not a good guy, right? So I remember being on that little sand barge and thinking, I got to get my life together. And so I went back after that. And high school was over, games were over, and my dad said, you got three choices. You can go to college, and I'll pay for it. You can come to work for me, and you can make a lot of money, or you can go into the military. And I'm like, I'll go in the military. And I remember that day, and I wasn't even walking with, I was a Catholic. Do we have any ex-Catholics here? Any Catholics? All right. So I didn't really know God. I knew kind of who he was, but I didn't know about hearing him and stuff like that. And so I remember that time. My dad was an amazing man, absolutely amazing man. I couldn't live up to my dad if I had to. My biggest regret is he died when he was younger than me. I'm 59. He was 58 when he died. And my grandkids really didn't get to know him. My wife didn't really get to know him at all. And I regret that because he was the greatest man ever as far as I was concerned. People say, I have daddy issues. I have no clue how to help you because I didn't. My daddy issue was he was amazing, and I miss him every day. That's it. And so my dad would give me this great advice, and he said, you need to pick one because you're not going to do nothing. I wish I could say that now to my children, right? I wish I could be that guy, but it doesn't work anymore to do that. Your generation doesn't respond to, I'm going to give you two choices. And you're like, no, I'm not. I got to be careful how I say this, but the other day I had a conversation with this person who is part of my life now. And he's younger. He's about your age. And he had a job for about a week. And I had a conversation with him, and he said, I'm really struggling with my work-life balance. And I said, why? He goes, well, I have to work 5-6 days a week. I said, so what's the problem? He goes, well, I don't have any time for anything. This is who I am, okay? I'm not on staff, so they can't fire me. I get to say things like I'm about to say. So he's talking, right? And my fist is clenched right here. What do you think I wanted to do with that? I wanted to punch this boy right in the mouth. Work-life balance? Are you kidding me? Work-life balance was not a saying when I grew up, right? Minimum 40. When did you start working? 15. And did you lie to do it? You did. And when did you start paying bills?
15.
You started helping out with your parents. Yeah, same thing. And my dad had money, and I still helped. So getting back to my dad said, look, I'm going to teach you what you need to know. You got to make a decision. I said, Dad, I'm going to come work for you. And he goes, well, obviously he owned a machine shop. He's a manufacturer. And he said, what can you do? And I said, who does your books? And he said, I do, but I'm terrible at it. I said, I'll do your books. I was always good with math. I figured so I ran my dad's company. And that's how I started in the business. And then I went to Bible college later on in life. And that's not what I'm here to talk about. What I'm here to talk about is the things that I learned from my father. When I was working for my dad, I would go and I'd work on Saturdays, and I would have breakfast in the morning. And back in the day, you guys remember Winchell's Donuts? It was like really big back in the day. So we would go to Winchell's Donuts. I'm not allowed there anymore, apparently. I can't eat donuts anymore. But I would go with my dad, and we would meet this guy. My dad would be talking to everybody. My dad was so different than I am. Like, I'm talking now, but like on a Sunday, when you see me, I'm like, hey, what's up? I'm out. And Destiny's always telling me, can you move more? Can you dance? No, I don't do that. I don't dance for anybody. And I'm kind of just this grumpy dude. Well, my dad was the opposite, and my dad made friends with everybody. So he made friends with this guy, and I kept asking him, like, how do you know this guy? He's always a friend of mine. And he was this old man. He had ripped jeans, which for me, I don't allow my kids to wear ripped jeans. And then I found out that they actually pay for ripped jeans. Why would you do that? It's like buying a guitar and it's got a hole in it. It's like, yeah, it's cool, man. It's used. No, I don't think so. I like them brand new. It's just me. So I would say, Dad, who is this guy? And he's like, yeah, he's a friend of mine. So he would get in, we would go to work, and he would go to work, and he would jump in his truck, old Ford truck, one of those ones you started up and a big old cloud of smoke came out, right? And it was just like, this dude's a hobo. He's a nobody. So finally, I talked to my dad some more, and my dad said, you don't know who that guy is, do you? I said, no. Like, why are you even friends with him? He said, his name is Mr. Roland. I said, so? He goes, well, the shop that we own is in Roland Heights. It's the name of a city. I said, so? And he said, he's Mr. Roland. I'm like, of the city? He said, yeah, he owns most of the land in the city. And my dad took me in his Ford truck, and we went and drove with this guy's house. And back in the day, it was up on a hill. Massive property, right? I would have never known the guy was wealthy by the pants that he was wearing, by the truck. Because if it was me, I'd have new pants. I'd have a Tesla or a Corvette or something good because I got money, right? And this guy lived life like he was worse off than we were. Fast forward to another guy I had in my church. His name was Paul. He was the CEO of Beckman Coulter. Big medical device company, super, super wealthy guy. I learned a lot from him financially. Most of these guys are like financial fathers to me. And so what he taught me was you don't waste money. And so one time, he was at my church forever, and we had men's prayer every Tuesday morning. We get together, pray at 5 o'clock. And he came in one morning, and he was like convicted. I'm like, bro, what's wrong? And he's like, I got to get my act together. I'm like, I'm pretty sure your act is together. Like, you have a lot of money. And I didn't say that, but I was thinking that. And I said, what's going on? And he goes, I have a lot of money. I said, yes, I know that. My church survives because of you, right? I know exactly how much money you have. But you would never know it, right, from him. You would never, that's just not how he rolls. And so he says, I'm convicted. I said, what are you convicted? And I was waiting for something juicy like, yeah, I got a girlfriend, or, I'm embezzling or whatever. And he goes, so I went and got gas the other day, and this was back in the day where we didn't have to pump gas. Do you even remember that? Okay, so back in the day, we would pull up to a gas station, and somebody your age would fill my tank. It was glorious, right? I didn't have to get out. I didn't have to smell anything. It was just, how can I help you? I want gas. They would check your tires. They would do all this stuff for free, right? You talk about the good old days. So I said, what's wrong? He goes, well, I got gas. And the guy looked at my windshield wipers, and, he said that they could probably need replacing. And he goes, so I spent $15 to get my wipers replaced. I said, so what's the problem? And he goes, I know I can buy those wipers for like $5, and I wasted $10. I'm like, there's something wrong with this guy, right? What was the lesson? The lesson is you don't maintain your finances by wasting money. And for him, it was a $10 waste, but every $10 waste adds up to something, does it not? Right? So if you accumulate those $10 wastes in your life, and now it's not $10, it's, what does it cost for you guys to eat? What's kava? $18, right? $18. Boy, are you going to be convicted in about 12 minutes, right? The door is open for you to leave when you want to leave, because it's going to be that convicting. Because I don't put up with stuff. Look at me. If you decide to be poor, it will be because you decided to be poor. You say, Pastor Greg, how can you say that? Oh, I can say that easily, and I can back it up with Scripture. Because the thing you don't understand is you, in this world right now, you are considered rich. All you need to do is go to another country to see how rich you are. You say, Greg, I have nothing. You have more than you think. You have more than everybody else does. You say, well, I'm living at the poverty level. Your poverty level is way more than everybody else in this world has. So God already looks at you as rich. What I'm going to teach you tonight is how to maintain that, how to make sure that you pass it on. You say, Greg, I'm like 25, I'm 22. What do you mean pass it on? How long ago was 22 for you? Not long ago. Not long ago. It goes fast. In Psalms chapter 1, I want to contrast because we're in an election season, right? Have you noticed that? It's so disgusting. I'm so ready for it to be over. And we're not even nowhere close. All I get is phone calls and this and that. But I'll tell you, the elections that really blow me away are the ones that point out a contrast between one person running and another person. It could be Democrat, Republican. It doesn't matter really. I like the contrast. Psalm 1 gives us a contrast. And it's going to contrast two people. If you have your Bible, turn to Psalm 1. Now, in the book of Psalms, really, all the other Psalms, these are supposed to be songs. They're supposed to be sung. But Psalm 1 and Psalm 2 are completely different than all the other Psalms from 3 to 150. And when you go to Israel, you can read the 151st Psalm. It's in the museum there in Jerusalem. It's actually the parchment that they had it written. It's amazing. So Psalm 1, let me read it. Blessed is the man who walks not in the counsel of the wicked, in the counsel of the ungodly, nor stands in the paths of sinners, nor sits in the seat of the scornful, but his delight is in the law of the Lord, and on this law he meditates day and night. He shall be like a tree planted by rivers of water that brings forth its fruit in its season, whose leaf does not wither, and whatever he does, he shall prosper. Circle it, write it down, and remember it. It's super important, right? Verse 5, therefore, the ungodly shall not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. For the Lord knows the way of the righteous, but the way of the ungodly shall perish. What is the contrast? I want to remind you of what this says. The man who meditates on God's word is like a tree. Does it say planted itself? No, it says planted. Planted by whom? By the Lord. Anybody ever been in an airplane before? Are you the person that likes a window seat so you can look down? I am. I have to see where I'm going. It's super important. If we crash, I want to make sure where I'm at. And when you look down and you see desert, right? But you see this green thing running through. What is that green thing? It's a river. It's a source of water. And God says for you, I want to plant you like next to the stream so that everything you do will prosper. And right away we look at that Hebrew word prosper and we think, oh, you're going to be prosperous, and it mostly means that you're going to be blessed financially. But you got to do it God's way. And most people don't do it God's way. That is the contrast, right? So you can be chaff, which is blown in the wind, right? That's what they did. They took the wheat. It had chaff. Chaff is this thing that grows around the wheat. And when they want to separate it, they shake it, and they get a windy place, a high place, and the wind blows the chaff, and you have the wheat left. You don't want to be that. Who is that person? It says right here in what they shouldn't do. He said they walk in the counsel of the godly, they stand in this path of sinners, and they sit in the seat of the scornful. Do you notice that God's word always has a repetition to it? He says the first thing you do is you walk. You start walking in the counsel of this world. You go on Instagram and there's a sale for everything, right? These shoes that I'm wearing on Cloud, they're not good. There's a better shoe out there. I learned it on Instagram. The Hokas, they're not good either. I'm so confused about the things I need to do. If I have this problem, I have this vitamin. This vitamin's no good, but this one is. That is the counsel of the ungodly. And you guys are going to be inundated with that in your lifetime. Inundated. Because there is one thing that God wants from you. One thing. That's the first commandment. I don't want you to have any other Elohim than me. Period. Start there. And when you have God as your Lord and Savior, even in the form of Jesus Christ, like we talked about this morning, you will understand that your finances are not yours. Because I want to remind you this evening of something super important. There's a couple of roles here. Number one, there's an owner and there's a steward. And guess what? You are not the owner. You're not. You're a steward. He said, Greg, you don't know how hard I work. You see the fist? This is for you. Sorry, who is ever watching this. I apologize in advance. Because I want to smack you. Why do I want to smack you? Because I used to be you. I used to go in with my friends and how much do you make an hour? That was the discussion, right? Well, I make this. Well, I make this. Well, I have this. I have that. And it's all stuff. Do you have a jet ski? Do you have a quad? Do you have this? Do you have toys? The ones with the most toys at the end wins, right? No. It's not my money. And this is something that my wife and I are still resolving, right? Well, she tried to retire, but it didn't work out. Now she's back to work. How long did that last? Like 3 months or something like that? I remember I talked, how's retirement? She's back. She went back to work. I didn't make her go back to work. It was great when she was home, man. It was awesome. Dinners. I'll be careful. Let me know if you have to go to the bathroom, because then I'm going to spill everything and just let it all out. So back to this, the roles, the owner. God is the owner of all things. Psalm 24:1 says, the earth is the Lord's and all its fullness, the world and those who dwell therein. It all belongs to God. If you're going to be like a tree planted by the streams of living water, planted by him, then you need to understand that everything, if you're going to do it God's way, you don't own your money. Stop thinking that it's yours. It's not. Everything I have is subject to giving it away. I have a sinful, you guys can plug your ears right now, you musicians over there. I have a sinful part of my life. I collect guitars that nobody plays. Right? You know how stupid that is? You can go on you've been there. 2,000, 2,500, 3,000, blah, 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 blah. And then the really good ones, I don't even put out for Noah to look at. Because then if he says, well, can I play that one? I'm going to have to say yes. But I don't want him playing I don't even play that one. So I have a problem. I'm collecting my guitars. I'm not planted by a stream of living water, am I? With that attitude. I make it a point to, when I'm in conversation with Noah, I always say to him, hey, everything I have, take it and play it. Do I want to say that? No. What if his hands are greasy? What if his belt buckle messes up the back of my guitar? What if that happens? Then I have to be merciful. Because I worked for that guitar. It's mine. 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 I have a brand new truck. I didn't buy it. I wouldn't buy it. I wouldn't buy a new car. Are you kidding me? I was going to say, are you high? But I pretty much know that everybody in this room is not high. It's crazy. My wife drives a BMW. You want to know why? Because when I was in the midst of COVID, I was in the hospital for like 3 weeks. And I came out on oxygen, almost died. In fact, I should have died. It's a whole other miracle. But she wanted to go car shopping. And I had the oxygen tank, right? I had the whole thing. And I'm like, I'm walking around. And we get to this car lot. And it's massive. And she likes to shop. I like to buy. Do you know the difference? She will say, I know what I want when I see it. I already know what I want. Before I went there, I'm going to buy. And so my wife and I go shopping, and she's like, let's go look. And she's looking at this one, and is any of this a lie?
I don't talk like that.
Okay, but a little bit. So I look at this one car, and I'm like, it's a BMW. We were going to buy a Jeep. I think that thing looks pretty awesome. And I said, what's the price on this? And she's off doing whatever. And I couldn't get anybody to talk to me, so I'm like, Lord, I can't even walk to the place to get the guy to come over here. I need a car, and I need to get out of here. I need to get home, and I need to get on the couch. For 3 months when I got home, my big day was getting up from the couch and going to the bathroom and walking back. I couldn't walk. I didn't have any air in my lungs. I was dying. So homeboy comes over and he says, typical used car dude, how can I help you? I said, dude, how much is that car? You don't want that one. How much is that car? And he looked it up and he gave us a price. And I had prayed about it. What price? Do you remember what price he gave us? It was mismarked. Because when we went to go buy it, then Tamara took over. The negotiator. She embarrasses me when we go negotiate. Because this guy, he tried to sell her stuff that she didn't want. No, I don't need that. I don't need that either. They're going to spray the under of the car in case it snows. We live in Southern California. It ain't snowing. And she's just brutal. Why? Because it's God's money that we're spending. They mispriced the BMW by $10,000. And she rolled off the lot in a almost brand new Beamer. It had like 20,000 miles on it. Would I ever buy that car? No. You kidding me? No way. Now, Gibson Les Paul, which is a really cool guitar, we may have another discussion about that. Do you see the problem that I have? This is why our marriage works, because she's way better at managing money than I am. I'm really good at communicating and convicting you, which I will in 6 more minutes. But she's really good. My wife is amazing. I'm telling you right now, the women that are in this room, it would behoove you, if you know what that means. It would be a really good idea for you to talk to her at some point in time. And I'm sure if you said, hey, I'd like to have lunch, and she will talk to you about what to do as a woman in this society, making sure that you are prepared and ready to go. Because she had everything. And when she went through her divorce, her husband took everything. Everything. She had nothing. When we got married, she had debt. And God took care of everything. Absolutely everything. Why? Because she doesn't go out and waste money. We don't go out and waste money. We have friends do, and they're not friends. They're acquaintances. I don't want to spend that kind of money for dinner. I don't want to go do that stuff. I like going on vacation, and sometimes we splurge, and sometimes we don't. Sometimes we go. When I first started dating her, we'd go to Catalina, and we would take most of our food to Catalina for the week because it was too expensive to buy. And I kept thinking, I have money. Can you hear it? I work hard. I have money. It's mine. God says, no, I'm the owner and you are the steward. 1 Corinthians says, you are bought at a price, you're not your own, therefore glorify God in your body, which is God's. You don't belong to you. You were literally, they had an auction for your soul, and Jesus said, I want it. What's the cost? My blood, my life. They're mine now. He's mine, she's mine. You are not your own. I wish I could say that this is an easy lesson to learn at your age, guys, but I already know it's not. The truth about your money is it's not yours. It doesn't belong to you. It belongs to him. He owns it, and you manage it. Do you want to know why a super hot woman and a not so super hot guy, how that marriage works? I'll tell you right now. I'm glad you asked. I am the manager, and she is the assistant manager. And she's a way better assistant manager than I am a manager. And we have very defined rules and roles in our marriage about the house. When you come over to my house, I didn't decorate the inside. I don't care about 4th of July decorations or a mat that says go away or whatever she puts and whatever she does. And you could walk in our house and go, it must be July. It must be Thanksgiving. It must, because it just, you've been there, right? You know. That's not important to me. Not important to me. Now, the outside of the house, that's where my stuff is. My big screen TV, my barbecue, my smoker. My smoker. Yeah. And that's how we maintain these roles. I had to tell her tonight that I am going to spend some money tonight. And I told her, don't worry about it. It's business money, not personal money. Why did I have to tell her that? Because if I would have spent it without telling her, I would have been in trouble. All right? We have a rule. Don't spend a lot of money. It used to be, how much was it, $100? Now it's what? 500,000, something like that? Not 500,000. Yeah, about that. You kidding me? We communicate about money. You want to know why? Because I don't want to get a divorce. I'll be totally honest. You don't communicate, you don't learn how to communicate about money now, I'm telling you, it'll take you down. It will take you down. I've counseled so many couples that couldn't get this together and they ended up getting a divorce. All because they didn't understand that he owned and you're the steward. And what is a steward? A steward is somebody that is responsible for somebody else's stuff. Right? Now, I know that if I were to say to Noah, let's just say I got my left hand chopped off. I'm not prophesying, but let's just say it happened. I would spend more time singing than playing the guitar. That's my first thing. Second thing is I would go to Noah and say, what I have now, Noah, is yours. You steward this stuff. And we throw that word around, especially here at The Rock. How are you stewarding your ministry? How are you stewarding this? You need to be intentional. Let's land the plane. Let's land the plane and be intentional and steward. Have you ever noticed how many times those words come up? And I raise my hand and say, what does that mean? You are a steward. God says everything that you have belongs to me. And because you're a steward, one day you're going to have to do what? Give an answer. The Bible says in the moment of the twinkling of an eye, there's going to be a trumpet sound, and we will be the first to go up. The dead in Christ will rise first. We'll be right behind them. For what? For a judgment. You say, Greg, I don't want to be judged. Too bad. You're going to go through the Bema Seat judgment, and God's going to say, what did you do with what I gave you? Well, I didn't have much. Liar. You sure had enough for Starbucks, didn't you? You sure had enough for Cava. You sure had enough for that concert and for that purse that you know is way out of your league. I should look at girls, not at guys. You're buying purses that are way out of league, we have another seminar to go to. This ain't it, right? What is it? I'm not even going to get on man purses right now. I don't have the time. It's not in my notes. I'm sorry. Understand that these truths determine what sort of man and woman you're going to be with respect to finance. Because if you don't get this figured out now, you're going to be in trouble. You are a steward. That's it. I like to use, we're two very different people. My wife is private. I get it. I totally understand that. I'm not so private. I don't mind when people come over my home. You want to know why? Because before it was my home, it was my dad's home. I moved into that house when I was a sophomore in high school. And my dad, on his couple weeks before he died, said, I'm probably not going to make it. My mom had just died before him, like 6 months, and he said, I want you to use my stuff well. I'm going to give it to you. I want you to use it well. I can't remember a Christmas Eve that house wasn't completely full with pots of tamales, and I'm not even Mexican. Found that out, broke my heart. All this time I've been eating Mexican food, and I'm Indian, or whatever. So apparently I get to, never mind. So, but that house was filled all the time, and people were dancing. Where we watch TV, where the big couch is, where you can land a plane, that wasn't the room we went into. That was the room we entertained in. It had nice furniture. Well, every Christmas, that became a dance floor, because believe it or not, there are people in my family that dance. I didn't get the gene, nor do I want it. You don't want to see me dance? Ever. But there was celebration in that home. And when Destiny says, hey, can we get the worship team? Come on over. Let's do it. Why? Because Greg's a nice guy? No. Because I'm a steward. I'm a steward. It could be cleaned up. Somebody breaks something, it could be cleaned up. It could be replaced. What's the problem? We're going to build a home in Tennessee that will be absolutely amazing. We have 8 acres and a stream and deer and wild turkey, and it's just awesome. I have a driveway to enter in. It might as well be a street. I should name it. I'm not bragging, it's Tennessee. But, I mean, if it were here, it'd be like a big deal, but it's absolutely beautiful. And she's going to build this home. I just am going to help her finance it. And it's going to be amazing, and we're going to bring our grandkids over, and what are they going to do?
Stay in the other.
You know when my grandkids are there because there's fingerprints everywhere about this high. Everywhere. They don't care. This is stuff. They remind me all the time, this is stuff. And we want it perfect. You see who has the problem? I have the problem. Let's continue. It just gets worse. The parable of the talents, do you remember that in Scripture? So I never understood this as a young believer because God, the guy gives money and he says, here, I'm going to give you one, I'm going to give you a couple, Destiny, I'm going to give you, and then you take the one, you're like, I don't trust this guy, he's got a bad reputation. He had a bad reputation, right? I didn't trust you, so I took the buck that you gave me and I shoved it under my car seat and I figure I'll give it back to you when you come. Noah goes, no man, I'm going to the stock market. I'm going to double that. Destiny's like, no, we're going to do crypto. And she makes big time bucks on that, right? And then come back and they gave what? An account. They gave an account. Now, when I was first a believer, I thought that what you did was right. Homeboy's not a good guy. Why should I help him? He stole from people, he misused people, he mistreated people. Why should I do that? That was my way of thinking. I didn't understand the parable. The parable is, if you would have doubled your money, it would have been the same as her doubling her 5. In other words, God wants you to do something with what you have. You say, Greg, I don't have anything. How many of you have a job? Raise your hand if you have a job. That's pretty good. Unemployment is down in this room. How many of you don't want a job? How many of you don't want a job? You never want to work. Too late. Let me tell you something. Every single one of you should want to work because it's a blessing. And if you don't believe me, read the book of Ecclesiastes. It will remind you that it's a blessing. At the end of the day, it's toil. You want to know what working has done for me? I'm going to give you a practical application. What's your name? Stacy? Lacey. So Lacey, I'm 59 years old, and I have come to the place in my life where I could work for the Rock for free as a pastor. And the way that I did that was I took care of my finances. So I could go pastor right now, and I don't have to go to a church and say, I need a salary. You do. All of you do, right? I don't. I can work for free. Tam's like, don't work for free. Please don't. I can do it because that was my goal. I pastored a church for 25 years. I worked 2 jobs for 25 years so that all the money would not have to go to the pastor. I hired an assistant. I hired a youth pastor. I was able to give to missions. I was able to give the Foursquare tithe faithfully in our church. We were never in debt, not one time were we ever in debt. We never paid a late bill for 25 years. When we closed the church down, we had $150,000 in savings that we gave to the church that we partnered with. Is that true or false? You were there when we did it. Because we were good stewards of what God gave us. How did that happen? Because I didn't put the responsibility of the church. Now, I'm not saying full-time pastor. I don't want Pastor Jerry to go out and work DoorDash. No, I want him home studying the Word like he did this morning. Man, it was awesome. This is like part 2 to that. But in my case, I didn't want to put that burden on the church. And when you work and when you're making money, you become a fundraiser. And you know how cool it is to be a fundraiser? Let me tell you, I'm gonna get rid of my blessing. I'm sorry. I shouldn't do this, but I'm gonna do it. I told you I had to go to hospital visitation this morning. So I went to service, and then I went down. Ron Oakley, Pastor Ron, texted me and said, this woman, go visit her. I'm like, okay. So it's in like Costa Mesa, a little further than I'm used to, but I drove down to Costa Mesa, and I visited her, and I never carry cash. I just don't. I don't carry cash. It's not because I don't have it. I just don't like it. I don't need it, and there's really no need to have it. Most of my cash I give to my wife. I don't know what she does with it. There's got to be like a pile of money somewhere in the house. But I normally come home. I'll say, honey, I don't need money. And I'm like, here, take this 100. And she's like, for what? And I was like, I don't need cash. Just take it. I never have cash, and I had $60 in my wallet. And I went down and I prayed with this woman, and she said, Pastor, I get Social Security, blah, blah, blah. And she said, I have a need for this medical device, and my insurance isn't covering it, and I need to get it, and it's $60. And I said, well, we're going to pray about that. And we prayed about it, and I got up to leave, and God said, you're an idiot. Don't you hate when God says that? And that's how God talks to me, right? Greg, you're an idiot. And I'm like, again? Yes, again. I know you were one yesterday, and you have repeated the problem today. Give her the money, son. It's in your wallet because I put it there. You give it to her. So I opened the door, I closed the door, and I went back and I said, here's $60. She said, I can't take your money. I said, it's not mine. It's not mine. Not mine. It's $60 for a lesson. One more time. It's not my money. It's God's money. And you need to listen to that voice when he says, give it away. But what if do you remember the woman? She had 2 coins. You want to know the most amazing part of that story is Jesus was watching. It's not like out of the corner of his eye. He was watching the rich people dump money in there. And then this poor woman comes up and she gives 2 coins. And what does Jesus say? Huddle, huddle. Gets the disciples together and says, listen, guys, you see that woman over there? She gave 2 coins. She gave everything she had. It's not about the amount. It's about the obedience. When you hear God say give, you give. But Greg, I might not eat lunch. So what? It's like my grandson. The kid's 900 pounds. Okay, maybe 800. He could miss a meal, right? Is that kid ginormous? He gets bigger every day. The other day we had him in the sink and he filled up the whole thing in his little bath. We got to kick him down to the upstairs in the bathtub now. He's outgrown it. The kid hasn't missed a meal. We haven't missed a meal. I could use a lot of missed meals, right? I get it. You want to know the hardest thing about having any kind of money at all? I'm going to be real with you. I haven't even told this to my wife. I'm a mountain bike rider, which means I own a mountain bike that I ride occasionally. You see the difference? You thought I was a mountain bike rider. I just ride a mountain bike every once in a while when it's cool. So my mountain bike isn't cool anymore. How do I know that? Because I've been looking at other mountain bikes, and they're cooler than my mountain bike. They're lighter. They're nicer colors. They climb hills better. They're just better. I've been to the bike store 3 times this week looking at mountain bikes to buy. And then I heard those words once again. Hey, idiot. Yes, Lord. Right? Remember that in the Bible? Yes, Lord. Adam and Eve, where are you? They're hiding. The other does, yes, Lord, that's me. Idiot. You suck at riding mountain bikes. You don't need a new one. Why don't you ride the one that I provided for you? Okay? Just do that. Because you spent 3 times looking at these things. You're just like Eve. You saw the fruit and you it's good. It's good. God says, don't eat it, man. But it's good. It looked good. And mine might look good. How much stuff did you walk by this week that looked good? Do you need it? No. Those shoes. I could walk better if I had those shoes. No, you really can't. You see the way you walk now. Everyone who has, more will be given. But to he who doesn't have, even what he has will be taken from him. That's the climax of that particular story that we were talking about. So let's get down to the hard truths and we'll get out of here. If you're taking notes, write this down. Understand. Understand. Understand that everything you have is not yours. God owns everything. Everything that you have is not yours. God owns everything. So surrender it and stop trying to hold on to what's not yours, because then you just live such a better life that way. It's so freeing. God, I'm just a manager. You want to know how stressful it is to run a company of the size that I run? My daughter does the finances for this company that I run, and the other day a check came in. I called her. I said, Gracie, a check's coming in. It's going to be about $1 million. It was $1.2 million. I said, it's going to come in. The bank's not going to want to, they're going to put a hold on it because it's such a large amount. I said, here's what you need to do, yada, yada, yada. She said, okay, Dad, I'll get back to you. She called me back, Dad, they put a hold on it. Oh, man. So I got people that want to be paid, right? Big amounts. A couple $100,000 here, a couple $100,000 there. Got to pay these bills. I have stress from that, right? I have stress. God said, you're managing my money. Stop stressing over it. 20 years ago, when I was in business with my dad, we were waiting for this one check to come in, and it was really late, and we didn't have any money. I wasn't taking a check. My dad wasn't taking a check. We were paying our employees. And I was going to men's prayer. I was praying, God, this got to bring this check in, got to bring this check in. And I got a call right after prayer. The guy from the company said, hey, the check's in the mail. We wrote the check. It was released. It's in the mail. And I went back into the men's group because prayer was over, but the guys were hanging, and I was rejoicing, and they were rejoicing, and it was a miracle. God did a miracle. And I got in my car, and God said, I told you this morning that I was going to give you that money, and you didn't believe me. You waited for somebody to call you. How do you know that he's not lying to you? Idiot. I'm an idiot. I told you that I would take care of you. When are you going to believe me? When are you going to listen to me? I know that your future has so many things. How are you going to get, especially if you're married, how are you going to do this? How are you going to provide? It's your job to provide. Look at me, boy. It's your job to provide for that woman, right? I'm old school. When I die, they can get rid of the rule. But as long as I'm here, it's your job. Is that right? Is that what I do? Find somebody like me, better looking though, taller perhaps, better speaker. I take care of my wife because God said take care of her. And you'll be like a tree planted by the streams of living water. Everything you do will prosper. Every time I want to listen to the world, I get messed up with my finances. Understand, write it down, everything that you have belongs to God. Number 2, create a budget. Oh, Greg, really? Let me tell you, if you don't tell your money where it goes, I'll wait for you to stop writing because I want you to look at me. If you don't tell your money where it goes, it's going to tell you where it went. If you don't tell your money where it goes, it will tell you where it went. I love it when my kids started working and they started bringing home a paycheck. They wouldn't even look at the pay stub. Junior idiot. I would say, did you look at your pay stub? Look at the pay stub. They started seeing all the stuff that they were paying, right? All those things that they were taking out of your check. Did they ask permission to take those things out of your check? No. They just took it. It's gone. When you create a budget, you tell your money where it's going to go, including the things that the government takes. You say, well, Pastor Greg, did God really speak to you about moving to Tennessee? Did you have a vision? Was it like a Moses thing? No. You want to know why I'm moving to Tennessee? Because there's 0 state tax. Do you want to know what that means? That if I have $1 million, California is going to take $100,000 of my money. Tennessee is going to take nothing. I don't need to go to God to ask him a question that I already know the answer to. Right? Now, I'm not saying you guys should go to Tennessee. You need to stay here. Because you have to provide for my retirement and Social Security. Don't even think about getting out of that. You're stuck. Create a budget. And here's the problem with the budget. You're like, rent, car, cell phone, whatever, gas. Boy, are you going to be disappointed. Every single person that I've helped with a budget, and I make myself available to you. If you see me at church and say, Pastor Greg, I want to meet with you, I want to help you, I want you to help me make a budget. First of all, I double dog dare you to do that because I'm going to be brutal with you. But number two, I will make the time, and you will have a budget. The first thing I'm going to ask is, what do you spend your money on? Well, I have rent, and I have a car, and I have this, and I have that, or I live with my parents, and they charge me a little bit of rent, but, that's pretty much it. You're forgetting that I live with people your age. I look in the trash can. Trash can tells everything. Right? Where you been? In-N-Out, Cava, Starbucks, Nordstrom's. Right? If that doesn't tell me the rest of the story, then guess what else does? Amazon. The Ring doorbell. I didn't order that. Homeboy's living better than I am, and I own the joint. How is this so? What happened? My point is this: if you don't put all those little things that you have, and you have them, if you don't put those things in your budget, then you're not going to have a document that's going to be any good. Give yourself money for entertainment. Give yourself money to do the things that you need to do. Make sure you put the tithe in there and make sure it's first. We're going to get to that in a minute. So avoid this just quickly. I'm going to move because I know we're running out of time. Avoid this. So one Starbucks coffee. Poor Destiny. She's had to hear this every Sunday. One Starbucks coffee. We're just going to say $5. These are round numbers, okay? And one fast food meal, $20, round number. So you got $25. So if you take that and you times that, just simple math, 5 days a week, you come up with about $6,500 a year. $6,500 a year. I want to punch again those people that live with me, because she will go to Trader Joe's and buy amazing food. It happened on the way over here. On the way over here, I said, after the thing tonight, I want to go get something to eat. I have Trader Joe's food at the house. Dang it. I deserve a restaurant. It's my money, man. I earned it. She's already provided a Trader Joe's meal. Well, guess what? Not only do we have a refrigerator, you've been there, not only do we have a refrigerator full of food, she has a freezer outside that's even more full of food. And they pass by, and what do? I want this, I want that, I want pizza, and it's got to get delivered, which is even more money. If you add that up, I want you to keep that $6,500 a year annually. $6,500. I want you to remember that. Let's go to number 3. I want you to master tithing and offering. What's the difference? Or tithing and giving. You got to give 10% to God. Give it. Sit your rear down and do it. Be obedient. And don't rob God of his money that's his. I didn't make the rules. I just enforce them. Write the check. Give the money. Super easy. I personally don't like to do it digitally. You ever notice when you spend cash, you're like, oh, that's a $100 bill. You're looking for the change back, right? When you buy something with cash, you're like, oh, that hurt. When you buy it with a card, you don't see. It's just numbers. Oh, that's awesome. Shoes, purse, guitar, BMW. But when you pay with cash, you're like, oh, that's a lot of dough. That's how the tithe should be. I'm old school. I like them walking down the aisles with the basket and everything. Make it hurt. You pay that tithe. Why? Because guys, do you understand that the reason but the tithe, and Pastor Jerry talked about this morning, the whole idea is it's the first fruit. What does that mean? You will have no other Elohim than me. Then God, the first stuff I make, I'm going to give to you. I'm going to give to you. It's yours. And then you got to be a giver. And you can't be a giver if you're not a fundraiser. You say, Greg, what do you mean? You can't give people money if you don't have an abundance. But if you have an abundance, you're like, I got $60. Here you go. $60. If that remained in my wallet, do you know what I would have spent that on? Something stupid. You guarantee it. And this poor woman needed it way more than I did. It's a no-brainer. I can't tell you how many times my wife has come home and said to me, I spent money today. I'm like, I know, I track you. I saw you at Nordstrom's. She goes, yeah, but that was a different expense. Thanks, honey. So you spent even more money than I thought you were going to spend today. I'm totally lying. She will say, I ran into this woman at the store, and God told me. And I just rejoice, man. I just rejoice because I'm married to a woman who can hear God's voice. And she's sensitive to that. She has this thing that she's involved with called Buy Nothing Fullerton. Have you ever heard of it? It's a group of people that if you have really cool stuff and you don't want to sell it, you can give it away. Round numbers. How much money have we given away on Buy Nothing Fullerton, if you had to guess? 20 grand? Yeah. That's just what I know. If you ever see my guitars on Buy Nothing, you need to call me. Because she can't be trusted right now. She's outside the circle of trust. She's over here. Can't be trusted. My kids come home and they're like, I saw my shoes on Buy Nothing. That's right. I gave you a year to wear them. You didn't wear them. They went on Buy Nothing. Am I right? They're gone. She's had women show up to get a gallon of milk because we double bought. And she gave her this gallon of milk, and the woman was so happy for a gallon of milk. My wife said, do you need anything else? If you go to my house, guys, we have this thing called the Target closet. It's a thing, right? If you go upstairs next to the Beat Lab, which is where the Lord resides, there's a closet, and there's everything in there 5 deep. Shampoos, hairsprays, toothbrushes, whatever. She's shopping like the apocalypse is going to happen tomorrow, right? We don't have 1 roll of toilet paper. We got 59,000 rolls of toilet paper. We got Kleenex. We got napkins. We got paper plates. We got this. We got that. I don't have enough room. When we were designing the new house, she's like, yeah, I need a pantry. You know what? I need 2 pantries. Because she knows what it's like to go without. I never take stuff out of the Target closet, but the kids sure do, don't they? It just disappears. Why? Because we want them to have it. Guarantee you, if you came to my house and said, Tammy, do you have? Yes, go upstairs, make a left. It's in there. It's just the way she is. Master tithing, get back to this. Master tithing, I'm not going to say you should do it because God loves a cheerful giver. I have a problem with the word cheerful, obviously, because I believe joy is not happiness. Joy is what you have when your kid dies and you have to get up the next day and trust God to breathe. That's joy. At that point, you're not concerned about happiness. You're concerned about existing. So that's why I'm not a happy person, but I have joy like you wouldn't believe, man. It runs deep. It runs deep. And it's trusting God. And when I give God the tithes and offerings that he's asking for, I understand this is his anyways. He's only asking me for 10% that he wants to use his way, and I get to use the 90% the way that he would have me use it, but at the end of the day, it's all his. So on Sunday, when we get ready for the offering, give. You say, Greg, I don't like the whole tithe. Okay, try this, smarty. Why don't you start with 5% and just see what God does? I dare you. I don't tithe. Just start with 5% and you tell me what God does from there. You just tell me. You know how awesome it is not to have to worry about money? And how much time have we wasted worrying about money? The other day in the stock market, we lost thousands of God's money. Did you hear what I said? We lost thousands of God's money. It's not our money. Now, my wife and I are in the midst of coming up with what we're going to do with the money, the little money that we do have. because I want to create something called generational wealth. What does that mean? I want to create a generation of moochers. They're going to mooch off our money, including my grandchildren, the little moochers. Let me rephrase that in a nice way. I want to create generational wealth so that when my wife and I die, we leave my kids with something. And they're going to leave their kids with something, and they're going to leave their kids with something. Do you hear me? I'm concerned about my little grandkids that run around this church. I'm concerned about their financial future. How so? When they were born, we opened up a college fund for them. We put $50 in it every month. A little girl named Evelyn running around, little blondie, beautiful, my granddaughter, the oldest one. She's got $15,000 for college, and she doesn't even have her eye on college. And that money's just going to grow and grow and grow and grow, and she wanted one less thing. You ever see Forrest Gump? One less thing, right? When he gets the check from Apple, we don't have to worry about money anymore. One less thing. I don't want my kids to have to worry about money. I don't want my wife to have to worry about money. I don't want you to have to worry about money. But if you want to be the owner of your money, you're going to be a warrior. If you're going to follow the way of this world, you're going to worry, you're going to be stressed out, you're not going to know what to do. You're going to be it'll be terrible. You could be rich and it'll be terrible. Or you can say, God, it's all yours. It's all yours. I just get to steward it. I'm not done yet. I want you to practice investing. Oh, Greg, budget. Now you want me to invest? Yes, you're lazy. I want you to save. So I want you to have liquid. What does liquid mean? Destiny's going to sell cake pops. My wife's going to buy them. I want you to have savings. I want Destiny to have preferably $1,000 in her bank account that's liquid. That just means in case of an emergency, she can go and pull that money out, right? That's liquid money. Then I want you to save for stocks, which is not today's money, but tomorrow's money. You say, oh, Greg, I don't know anything about stocks. Call me. I will get you set up in about a half hour. We'll open an account up online, E-Trade. You get some money together. We'll put it in your checking account. We'll transfer it. We'll buy some stock. Right now, I would buy anything AI related and just let it sit. That's tomorrow's money. And then I want you to worry about retirement. How dare you? I'm going to be raptured. That may or may not happen. You may just die. My point is, there's this little thing called a Roth IRA. And a Roth IRA means that you get your age, you get to put like $6,500 into a Roth IRA. So when you retire, when you're my age, you pull that money out and there's no tax. What does that mean? Well, let's just say you go and you're going to work at, you don't work, right? You do. Where do you work? Okay, so they make you a manager, right? And you're running the whole store. And they come to you and say, hey, we have a retirement program, and it's a 401k, and we're gonna match up to 3% of what you put in. And you start putting in money, and you have a 401k when you're 60 years old, right? And you say, man, that money really grew. I got $1 million in there. You go pull that money out, you have to pay tax on it. In a Roth IRA, you don't have to pay tax on it. So you can put $6,500 into a Roth IRA at your age for the rest of your life. And if you do that, by the time you go to retire, you will have $5 million. $5 million of tax-free money. Here's the kicker. All you did was give up your coffee money and your kava. It's all you sacrificed, and you'll be living large. Out of all the people that I know that are our age right now, very few of them are in a position to retire like we are. They literally don't have enough money to retire, right? They have to work. They got to pay medical insurance. You guys, this doesn't last forever. Health problems cost money. Marriage, divorce. You say, well, Greg, we're going to get married. It's going to be awesome. We're going to get married at Disneyland right into the castle, and we're going to live happily ever after. That may be true, but 50% of you will be divorced. Sorry. It's just the odds of the church and the world. It ain't cheap. So you have to start understanding now about what it takes to maintain the things that God has given you. And if you can just be a little bit disciplined in these areas, I'm telling you. Last thing is this: exercise self-control. What is the fruits of the Spirit? Love, joy, peace, patience, goodness, gentleness, meekness. What's the last one? Self-control. If you have love and if you have self-control, you will have every other fruit of the Spirit that's in between, right? If you can love people the way that Jesus loves you and you can have self-control, you're set up. I'm struggling with both of them because I still got my fist out, right? Because there's still people I want to punch. Pretty sure Jesus didn't want to punch anybody. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. But I just get frustrated with people. I was counseling a married couple the other day, and I said, well, when do you have your vacation plan? We don't take vacations. I said, why not? Because we don't have enough money. Gosh, it's like fishing. Just throw it out there. Reel them in. Who told you didn't have enough money? Well, we don't have enough money. Now, I can't speak to them the way God speaks to me. I can't call them an idiot, but they are. Because let me tell you, you know what I learned with my wife about vacation? She started saving for vacation by the money that she got out of the dryer. I'm not kidding you. I used to have $5 bills, $20 bills go through the wash and never saw them again. She was stealing from me. She would save the change, she would do all that stuff, and we gave that money to the kids at Catalina to go blow. They had plenty of money to go spend. She would start, when we were leaving Catalina that year, we could go to Catalina every year for 15 years. On the day we left Catalina, she would go down and put a down payment for the next vacation. Why don't people have vacations? Because they wait and say, I need $5,000 for vacation, when you could start paying for it a year in advance, right? What'd you put down? A couple $100, if that? And then you got something to look forward to. I would tell these people, and like, I don't understand. You're going to be poor because you choose to be poor. You're going to not go on vacation because you choose not to go on vacation. You're not going to have money because you make that choice. What you've heard tonight, if you just do what I tell you to do, you'll have more money than you can dream of. You say, Greg, really? You're going to make that statement? As long as you understand that it's God's money. If you're a good steward, what's he going to do? Well, Destiny's a good steward, so I'm only going to, She is faithful with little. What's God going to do? He's going to make her faithful with much. But you got to start with a little. Give me my tithe, God says. Have your heart positioned to give to people. Give your stuff away. Treat it as mine, not as yours. And exercise self-control.